The universe is waiting for you to drop the heavy bags. You cannot receive with clenched fists. There is a strange, quiet morning that comes after years of spiritual exhaustion. You wake up, and something inside of you is fundamentally different. The panic is gone. The desperate need to fix, to heal, to understand, to wait is just gone. You look at the door you've been banging on for years, the door you bloodied your knuckles against, and you realize you no longer care if it opens. Society will tell you this is defeat. Your ego will tell you that you have failed. But from the perspective of spiritual psychology, this is not a failure. This is the exact moment of your liberation. You have reached the paradox of surrender. You are a sophisticated, intelligent soul. You have read the books. You have done the inner work. You have held the vision. But lately, you are simply tired. You are tired of being the anchor. You are tired of being the spiritual adult in the room. And I am here to tell you, it is okay to stop. In fact, stopping is the only way forward. What happens when you actually give up? I'm not talking about giving up on love. I'm talking about giving up on the struggle. Let us deconstruct why the exhaustion of your will is the greatest spiritual breakthrough of your life. For years, you have operated under a silent and exhausting assumption. You believed that if you just loved hard enough, healed deeply enough, and held enough space, the connection would finally harmonize. You are an intelligent and deeply feeling person. You have read the texts, you have meditated on the outcomes, and you have done the grueling shadow work. Because of this, you treated this spiritual bond like a complex equation that could be solved through sheer effort and dedication. You assumed that your devotion was a bridge the other person would eventually cross. You believed your willpower could force a soul connection into alignment. But this is the exact diagnosis of your current pain. You cannot use a third-dimensional tool like willpower to solve a quantum spiritual dynamic. Willpower is a function of the ego. It requires force. It requires tension. It demands that you bend reality to fit a specific timeline. But the realm of the soul does not respond to force. It responds to resonance. When you try to muscle a spiritual connection into existence, you are fundamentally working against the natural laws of the universe. Let us look deeply at the psychology of what has actually been happening inside your physical body. As the anxious heart, your nervous system has been locked in a chronic state of hypervigilance. For months, perhaps years, you have been tracking the invisible energy of the unawakened counterpart. You felt every subtle shift in their mood. You noticed every silence. You anticipated their retreats before they even happened. You called this tracking intuition. You called it spiritual devotion. You convinced yourself that by keeping a watchful, loving eye on their soul, you were keeping the bond alive. But if we look through the clinical and compassionate lens of psychology, this was not spiritual devotion. It was a trauma response. Your nervous system was profoundly dysregulated. You were operating in a prolonged state of fight or flight, desperately trying to secure a connection that always felt elusive. Your body was trying to create safety by attempting to control the uncontrollable. You were not holding space. You were standing guard, and standing guard is exhausting. It drains your precious life force and pulls you entirely out of your own sovereign center. This psychological tension creates a massive disruption in the realm of quantum entanglement. In the study of quantum physics, we learn that two entangled particles will mirror each other's state instantly, regardless of distance or time. But the law of mirroring is absolute and strictly energetic. The universe does not mirror your romantic thoughts. It does not mirror your spoken words or your best intentions. It mirrors your core vibration. When you, acting as the holder of space, project an energy of lack, you create a dense and heavy gravitational pull. When your underlying frequency is rooted in waiting, gripping, and needing, you are broadcasting a signal of profound emptiness. You are energetically shouting into the quantum field that you are incomplete without them. This heavy gravity is exactly what the avoidant soul reacts to. They do not hear your beautiful poetry. They do not perceive the brilliant future you have built in your mind. Instead, they feel the unconscious demand of your energy. They feel the immense pressure of your expectations. They feel the suffocating weight of your waiting. To their uncalibrated nervous system, your love feels like an obligation. Your energetic grip feels like a trap they must escape. And so, acting on their own primal instinct for survival, they retreat. They pull away to find air. You push, and they are magnetically repelled backward. It is not because they are inherently flawed, and it is certainly not because you are unlovable. It is simply the mechanics of energy. Two mismatched frequencies cannot occupy the same space without creating static. You have been trapped in this exhausting cycle for far too long. You have been playing the role of Sisyphus, constantly pushing a massive boulder up a steep mountain. Every time you think you have reached the top, every time you think the connection is finally stabilizing, the boulder slips. It rolls all the way back down to the bottom, crushing your hope along the way. You dust yourself off, analyze what went wrong, heal yet another inner child wound, and start pushing the boulder up the hill again. You have done this until your spiritual muscles have completely given out. But this exhaustion is not your enemy. The breaking point you have reached is not a sign of your failure. It is the exact opposite. The exhaustion broke you because the cycle needed to be broken. Your soul allowed you to run out of willpower so that you would finally stop pushing the boulder. You have reached the absolute limit of what your ego can endure. The fatigue in your bones is the universe gracefully dismantling your illusion of control. It is stripping away the false belief that you are responsible for another person's awakening. You cannot do their spiritual homework. You cannot heal their unhealed spaces for them. The exhaustion is the quiet messenger telling you that your shift is over. It is time to put the heavy burden down. Do not fear this profound exhaustion. You have reached the absolute edge of your own effort. Society conditions us to view giving up as a moral failure. We are told to keep fighting for what we love. But the exhaustion of your will is actually a divine intervention. It is a highly necessary spiritual mechanism. It is the universe stepping in to shut down your ego. Your ego has been running the control panel of your life for years. It convinced you that constant vigilance was the only way to secure this connection. But the ego is exhausted now. Let it rest. This sudden lack of care is not a sudden lack of love. It is the collapse of your psychological resistance. You are finally stepping out of your own way. This brings us to the ultimate paradigm shift. This is the realization that changes the entire trajectory of your spiritual journey. When you finally reach the point where you say that you do not care anymore, you are not becoming cynical. You are actually entering what quantum physicists and ancient mystics call the 0-point field. The 0-point field is a state of absolute energetic neutrality. It is the profound peace of nothingness. You are no longer swinging on the exhausting pendulum between desperate hope and crushing despair. You are simply existing. You are resting in the center. Think of a deeply tangled thread. Imagine a complex knot made of fine silk. When you panic, you naturally pull at the ends of the thread. You try to force the knot apart, but pulling only makes the knot tighter. It secures the tension. The harder you work at it, the more impossible the knot becomes to untangle. Your connection with the avoidant soul has been exactly like this knot. You have been pulling at it with all of your psychological might. You wanted to figure it out. You wanted to fix it. But the only way to loosen a silk knot is to drop the thread entirely. You must stop pulling. When you release your grip, the tension leaves the silk. The fibers soften. The knot breathes. Only in this state of relaxation can the threads naturally unravel. You have been swimming against a massive rip current for years. You have been kicking and fighting the heavy waves. You truly believed that if you stopped swimming, you would sink to the bottom. You thought your constant effort was the only thing keeping the connection alive. But the opposite is actually true in the spiritual realm. When you stop fighting the ocean, you do not drown. Your body naturally rises to the surface. The deep water supports you. The gravity shifts from a force that pulls you under to a force that holds you up. Giving up the struggle allows you to float. This moment of surrender is the death of your ego's timeline. Your ego desperately wanted the outcome to happen right now. It wanted the external validation. It wanted the story to finally make logical sense to the outside world. It wanted a reward for all the pain you endured. But the soul does not operate on a human clock. The soul understands that quantum entanglement cannot be rushed by a calendar. When you drop the desperate need to control the timeline, a profound energetic shift occurs. You instantly retrieve all of your scattered life force. For years, your energy has been leaking out of your body. It has been traveling across the quantum field, hovering around the unawakened counterpart. You have been funding their energetic reality at the expense of your own. But when you surrender the outcome, you recall your energy. You pull your light out of their field. You bring it back home. You pull it back into your own physical body. You pull it back into your own sovereign center. You become fully present in your own life again. And here is the beautiful, maddening irony of the universe. It is only when you truly and authentically let go of the desire that the manifestation can finally drop into your physical reality. Why does this happen? Because you have finally removed the energetic resistance. You have removed the dense, heavy gravity of need Need implies absence. Need implies that you are broken without them. As long as you were vibrating in a state of need, you were blocking the very thing you asked for. Surrender clears the pathway. You are no longer vibrating at the low frequency of waiting. You are no longer a fragmented half looking for a savior. You are vibrating at the high, clear frequency of being whole. You are complete exactly as you are in this very moment. You have discovered that you are the source of your own unconditional love. This is the true purpose of the connection. The universe did not introduce you to this soul to make you a lifelong hostage to waiting. The universe introduced you to this soul to guide you to this exact moment of total spiritual liberation. So how do we practically integrate this profound realization into your daily existence? Understanding the 0-point field intellectually is one thing. Living in it daily without falling back into the familiar trap of waiting requires deliberate action. You need a practical framework to anchor this energetic shift into your physical reality. You cannot simply hope that your anxiety will vanish. You must actively restructure how you interact with the concept of this connection. Here are 3 internal shifts you must make today to protect your peace and maintain your newfound spiritual liberation. The first shift is moving your internal state from willpower to willingness. Willpower is an aggressive and masculine energy. It boldly states that you will make this happen no matter the cost. Willingness is a highly receptive and feminine energy. It gracefully states that you are completely open to whatever happens next. This subtle change in language is a profound reset for your overworked nervous system. Today, I want you to officially resign from your self-appointed job. You must step down as the spiritual manager of this connection. You are fired, and you should truly celebrate this termination. For far too long, you have been doing the heavy lifting for a soul that has their own divine contract with the universe. You must stop checking the 3-dimensional reality for clues. You must stop trying to decode their silence. The unawakened counterpart has their own spiritual guides. They have their own unresolved karma. They have their own perfectly timed evolutionary path. When you try to do their spiritual work for them, you're actually robbing them of their own necessary growth. You're acting as an energetic crutch. You must step back entirely. Let them feel the vast empty space your absence creates. Profound spiritual growth only happens in the void. You must allow them the dignity of their own struggle.
The second shift is moving your focus from the outcome to the origin. For years, your vital energy has been projected outward. You have been intensely focused on a future outcome. You constantly ask yourself if they will ever come back. You wonder if they will finally understand your worth. You wait for them to wake up to the reality of the bond. In doing this, you have been acting like a small satellite. You have been endlessly orbiting their distant planet. It is time to remember that you are the sun. You are the origin point of your own life. You must reclaim your quantum center. Your neural pathways are deeply wired to obsess over them. When you catch your mind inevitably drifting back to their energy, do not fight it. Fighting only creates more psychological resistance. Instead, simply redirect the energy.
Ask yourself where you physically are right now. Bring your conscious awareness back to the steady rhythm of your breath. Feel the physical weight of your hands resting in your lap. Notice the immediate environment surrounding you. You must find your joy entirely independent of their existence. You must build a beautiful life and a deep purpose that has absolutely nothing to do with them. This is not a psychological trick to magically draw them back to you. This is the fundamental truth of your energetic sovereignty. If your happiness depends on another person waking up, you are a hostage to their timeline. Cut the energetic cord. Choose to be free. The third and final shift is the ultimate trust fall. This is the hardest step of all, but it is also the most liberating spiritual move you will ever make. You must completely release the outcome to the divine. True detachment does not mean you stop loving them. True detachment means you are entirely okay if the union happens in this physical lifetime. And you are equally okay if it never happens at all. Let that thought sink deeply into your bones. I know the anxious heart inside of you might violently rebel against that idea. Your mind will scream that you have waited so long. Your ego will insist that you belong together and that this cannot end in silence. But here is the ultimate spiritual truth. If you truly belong together, no amount of letting go will permanently separate you. What is meant for you by divine right cannot possibly miss you. You do not need to hold the connection together with your bare hands. Imagine a majestic ancient tree with deep roots. When the fierce wind blows, it strips the dead leaves away, but the thick trunk does not move. It stands perfectly still in the storm. If dropping your energetic grip causes the entire connection to fall apart, then it was never held together by authentic love. It was only held together by your chronic anxiety. Let it fall. Watch what actually remains when you stop doing all the spiritual work. This is the ultimate trust fall. You are trusting that the universe is a benevolent architect. You are trusting that your own soul already knows the way home. You have reached the end of your willpower, and what a beautiful place to be. You do not need to care anymore. You do not need to worry anymore. You can finally lay down your armor. You can stop being the warrior of love and just be love. There is a profound, quiet dignity in leaning back. When you let go of the steering wheel, God can finally drive. Breathe out. The struggle is over. The door you were banging on, walk away from it, turn around, and look at the vast, beautiful world that has been waiting for you to notice it. You are whole. You are complete. You are free. Until next time, walk in peace.